Hi, I'm Pete Kutzer with the Orvis Fly Fishing Schools. Today, we're going to spend a little bit of time talking about the basic cast. I know in a lot of these videos we talk about, different types of mends, casting different distances, roll casts, but there's one thing that, even I overlook quite a bit, and that's the importance of that basic cast. When we're making a cast with a fly rod, we're actually making two casts. We're making a back cast and a forward cast. To make this cast, basically we've got to get this rod to do only three things, three simple things, and then it's going to work for us. The first thing we're trying to get this rod to do is we're trying to get that rod to bend. When that rod bends, we call it loaded. Basically, it's loaded with energy. The next thing we're trying to get this rod to do is come to a very abrupt stop. When this rod straightens back out and stops, that line is going to get sent forward. When we make our basic cast, we're trying to get it to bend and stop twice. Once behind us, and then once again in front of us. Now I said there's three jobs. The third thing we're trying to get this fly rod to do, and more importantly, it's that rod tip that I'm pointing right at the camera, is we're trying to get that rod tip to travel in the straightest path possible. The straighter the path, the tighter the loop, and the straighter the cast. If I travel in an arch, that's going to make that fly line travel in an arch. Now, to get that good cast and to get that nice tight loop, what we want to do is to bend that rod, we want to start with a smooth acceleration. We're going to start with this rod tip nice and low. We're going to start to pick this rod up, and we're going to use, primarily, I like to use my forearm. I've heard a lot of people say you can use, or it's all forearm, and I've had people say it's all wrist. Well, you can cast either way, I don't really care. But what you want to do is get that smooth acceleration to that abrupt stop. That's going to get that line to jump out behind you. So I make a smooth acceleration to a stop, pause, then a smooth acceleration to a stop on the forward cast. When I make this cast, I want to make sure I pause and wait for that line to roll out behind me. Once it just about straightens out, then I can flick it forward. If I don't pause and wait, that's when you're going to hear that snap or that crack. That pop right there, that means you just broke off your fly. And flies are about $2 a piece, so it can start adding up. It can get a little expensive. So make sure when you're practicing your cast that you watch. I can't tell you how much I stress watching your back cast. That back cast is one of the most important steps, in my opinion, to a good cast. I tell folks all the time, it's like driving a car. You can't drive it till you start it. The back cast is starting that car. So we want to make that smooth acceleration to that abrupt stop. Pause, smooth acceleration to that abrupt stop, then we can lower that rod back down. When I hold this rod, I'm going to hold it simply with my thumb on top and a nice relaxed grip. Notice how the rod's in line with my forearm. I'm going to start very relaxed with that rod tip low. If we start with our rod tip up here, we're almost halfway through the cast. So make sure you start down nice and low. We're going to pick that rod up and make that smooth acceleration to that stop. Pause, smooth acceleration to that stop. On that forward cast, I like to say around eye level, right out about here, then we can lower that rod down. Now when you're casting, you can make this cast wherever you want. You can draw that straight line down low here. That's going to help get that line out there. You can draw that straight line up here. We can even draw that straight line way up over our head and out in front, or over our opposite shoulder. What I'm trying to do is make sure that rod stays in a straight path, straight back and straight forward. And there's actually two straight paths. The first one kind of looks like this rod. If I'm making a cast up over my head, it might be a little tilted up. Well, the other straight path is a little bit harder to see. What we don't want to do is curve. Here you can see that bend. We don't want to curve around our body. Any kind of curve around our body is going to send the fly line out in this direction and this direction behind me. Being a right-handed caster, it'll go out there and then around out there. And so that's not going to make that nice tight loop and not a very accurate cast. So just think, pick that rod up and make that smooth acceleration to a stop. Pause for a second, allow that line to roll out. Just before it straightens out, accelerate to a stop on the forward cast, then we can lower that rod down. A little bit of forearm, a little bit of wrist, not much of either. And that's the basic cast.